Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well this Monday morning. It's a real pretty morning here in Brasstown. I've been up early today. I had to get up early, so it's just now beginning though to heat up. We've been having really warm temperatures. You'll have to tell me if it's been hot and muggy where you're at. We've still been getting rain, so that's been good. I think we're supposed to get more. Granny tells me this evening. I don't know if she's right or not, but we'll wait and see if she is. But I had to get up early this morning and take Granny for some tests. So we've been out. Me and her had to head out pretty early. We're already back home, and when I dropped her off, Paul was going to make her some breakfast. So she was happy to be back at home. Happy to have those tests over, and hopefully later in the week we'll learn. They were test. She had an MRI this morning, but just to kind of keep track of the cancer. So hopefully we'll get good reports from those tests that we've had. She had some last week and then one today, and then we'll see the doctor later on this week and hopefully get a good report. We hope so. Granny's still doing good and in good spirits, and she's been enjoying the corn from our garden. She's been canning some green beans with Paul's help, and she's been doing really good. Of course, she's been enjoying all the grandbabies. She's been enjoying them. So, and still working on her Christmas stuff. A few weeks ago, I think it was David Hensley, but I may be wrong. If I am, I apologize, but said, would I do a Q&A with Granny? Would I let y'all ask her questions? So I didn't know if she would go for that or not, but I asked her and she said, well, I'll try. I don't know if I can answer them. And I said, well, people will be asking you just about yourself, probably just, what you think, what your favorite food is or something about your childhood or whatever. So she said she would try to do that. So if you have a question for Granny, I don't want to tell you to put it in the chat because I don't know if I can see that later on. Maybe if you could come back to this video, I hate to even ask you to do that. If you could come back to it after we're finished and put it in the comments below the description, if you could put them down there, then I will let Granny answer your questions. Or you could leave them on some other video too. Just go to one of my other videos and say, this is a question for Granny, and I'll see it. And then I'll see if she can answer your questions. I think that would be a lot of fun, and it would be good for all of you who are interested, have questions for her, but it'd be good for our family, just so maybe you'll ask her stuff that we hadn't thought about or that we don't know about or something like that, kind of a documentation. So maybe an interview led by YouTubers, in other words. So please, like I said, I'm not sure I'll see the questions if you put them in the chat. So put them after this video is over, you could put them in the description below, or go to one of my other videos and ask your question, and I'll see it when I look at comments, and I'll keep track of them that way. Or you could email it to me, tipperpresley@gmail.com. Either way you want to do it. Anyway, Granny's doing good, and me and her were happy to get back home. She couldn't eat before the test, so she was hungry. Paul's going to fix her something to eat, and I got back in time to I ate me a piece of apple and drank me a little chicken broth, so I'm feeling better too. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Oh, thank all of y'all. Thank you. Today is my birthday. People's telling me happy birthday, but thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, thank all of you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So what have me and Matt got planned this week? My nephew Ben, I think I shared that maybe last week or in a video recently. He's got peaches, so I need to go get the peaches. Need to do that. I've got other stuff going on that I've not been able to get down there, but I hope me and Matt can go get some peaches. I'd like to have some to put up. We enjoyed the ones that we got from him last year, and I put in the freezer. They're all gone. There might be one more pack in my freezer up here, but they're all gone in the basement. And so I'd enjoy that. And then Matt mentioned peach ice cream. We did make peach ice cream last year when we first got them, and that was really, really good. So maybe we could do that again. I thought that's what I would do with the peaches that I put in the freezer. I thought, well, now I'll just be ready to make a lot of peach ice cream, but we never made it again. I just used those mostly for cobblers. Oh, thank you all. Thank you. Y'all are so nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm still working on putting up stuff, so I'd like to make some bread and butter pickles. That's on my list of things like I must do before it's over. And then I want to do some chow chow. Now I love the fermented chow chow. I have a video about that you can look for on my channel, but I'd like to do like more of the vinegar based. I'd like to do a run of that and put that up. And I have all the stuff because I have some of my cabbages left that we harvested. So maybe that's something that I'll get done this week. I hope so. Um, I've just canned all my grape juice that we've got, so it'll be ready when I want to make jelly anytime I want to make it. But I need to make some jelly because we're about out of jelly. And I've got blackberries. I've made one run of blackberry jelly this year. That's all. It won't take us no time to go through that. But I've got some blackberries that I canned last year because it was a much better year, or maybe even the year before. Gosh, I can't remember. Or maybe I did it last year. I don't know. Anyway, I've got some canned blackberries, so I need to open them and actually make us some jelly out of them. Oh, Connie's telling me, yeah, about the hurricane. From right now, the projections are not over us. We're kind of just barely out of it. But I will keep a check on it for sure. And I'm sorry for all the people that's being affected by that storm. Really, really sorry about that. Let's see. So, what other was I going to talk about? Oh, I was going to say a lot of people recently in the comments, seems like questions come up and come up. So people have recently been asking us about snakes. And I thought of this for two reasons, because of the comments. And then you know how kitty cats will do. Binks brought Katie a snake yesterday, just a little one. But anyway, made me think about how many people have been asking about them. So we do have snakes here, and we see snakes, not all the time, but we do see them often. Most of the time they're black snakes or little garter snakes, corns, what we call a corn snake, things like that. Little what are they? Like earth snakes that are just brown. That's the ones I see mostly in my garden. Almost for a minute, because they're kind of small, will make you think maybe it's just a really big night crawler, a big worm, and then you realize it's not. But there are the snakes we would have to worry about are rattlesnakes and copperheads. Those are the poisonous ones that we have here, are those two. And we do see them, and well, but not all the time. Not all the time. Mostly, like I said, it would be the black snake, the corn snake, and the little something earth snake. You know what I'm talking about, probably, like a little garter snake, something like that, are the ones that we would usually see. Now, you do hear big stories in Appalachia about snakes, um, you know, certainly about the poisonous ones and how dangerous they are, and, how many rattlers a rattlesnake had and things like that. But you often hear stories too about the black snakes, that there's like a black racer that if it sees you, it will chase you, and you'll hear tales about somebody running to try to get away from it. There's a story about a hoop snake, so that when it sees you, it's a black snake too, that it makes a hoop out of itself, like, kind of bites its tongue or bites its tail, and then it can roll after you. That's a great story, ain't it? And then was there one more? I thought of it and then it just slipped my mind. Another one, kind of those mythical kind of snakes like that. Maybe it'll come back to me in a minute. Anyway, you hear those stories about the hoop snakes and the black racers. So those are fun stories to hear, and hear people talk about them, and tease children about them for sure. Tease them about them. It's lots of fun to do that. Speaking of animals like that, another thing people will ask us about, of course, is how do we keep the animals out of the garden? I get that question a lot, and a lot of you've probably already heard me say, mostly we're really glad that we live like here in our mountain holler. A lot of my family on down the road, they have dogs that are loose. So the dogs just kind of roam around and they chase things out, whatever it is. Now, this year we have had, more trouble with the deer. But as far as rabbits and groundhogs and things like that, the dogs really keep them at bay. And most of the time they keep the deer at bay too. So that's really, really fortunate for us. Another thing people will ask about bears. Do we have bears? We do have black bears. We rarely see them in the yard. That is, we have had them in the yard. And one time they got in our chicken feed, only once though. So we have had things like that happen. But of course, Matt's got his cameras out now because he's thinking about hunting, and you want to put your camera out to see if there's any deer where you think you might hunt. And a few days ago, he had a picture of a mother bear and three. She had triplets, 3 cubs. So that was really interesting. We've seen them before in the past there goes one of the deer alarms. We've seen them before in the past with like two with twins, but that's the first time we've seen a picture with three. So three triplet bears up there roaming around somewhere up here. So a lot of times they're just passing through though, and maybe they're moving on to somewhere else. And again, we rarely see them down, as Pap would say, in the settlement of houses. Mostly they stay back in the woods. And when we walk in the woods, if we're hiking or like Matt hunting or whatever, often all those animals, they hear you long before you ever see them, before you ever know they're there, and they skedaddle because they don't want to have nothing to do with you either. So anyway, those are interesting things to think about and talk about. I was going to see what else I wanted to talk about. Oh, I wanted to say this time I wasn't going to share a whole, like a person that I've been listening to, but I wanted to share a song. Let me go get I think I already got it though. Let me come back to where you're at and I put it in here. Yep. So I already had it. So there's a song that you can listen to, and I'm going to go back to my text from Paul to see what Paul said about it. So since I've been talking about music, it's made me go back through my CDs and find stuff and start listening to it. So last Friday when I went to get groceries, I thought, well, I'll see if I can find some old CD or something to listen to. So I put one in, and then the song I just put there in the chat was the first one that come on. And I was just like, oh, how did I forget about this song? It's one of the most beautiful songs ever. It immediately makes you, think of a movie scene of, beautiful landscapes, maybe even out west, not necessarily here, but wherever. It's got, like, you can hear kind of seagulls, so maybe at the ocean. Beautiful, beautiful music. And I knew it was by Bill Monroe. Bill Monroe is, like, often said the father of bluegrass. So I knew that's who it was, but I'd forgot, like, why I had it. And I thought, we used to listen to that all the time, me and Paul. And, I had to get him to jog my memory. So as soon as I got home, I texted him, was like, what's the name of that song, and started describing it to him. So the name of it is My Last Days on Earth. Pretty powerful, too, when you think about that. And then if you go listen to it, it's a very moving song. And then he says, in case you need to know, it's played in a non-standard running. You couldn't play it with a mandolin that is tuned normally. Bill Monroe was known for a mandolin player. And then he says he heard Ricky Skaggs say he doesn't know how Monroe came up with that tuning. My theory is, Paul's theory, is that he stumbled upon it while changing strings. As you tighten strings, you sort of pass by several odd-sounding places when you're hitting the strings. Some of them sound right in a way, but they're not right. So you keep going. What if you stopped and experimented by playing around a little? Anyway, that's what Paul thinks happened, but it's interesting to think about, he says. And then he says running equals tuning. Anyway, really interesting. Paul's background there. He knows much more about music than I do. I say that I only play the bass by how Paul tells me how to play the bass, but he understands it all better. But it's a beautiful, beautiful song if you want to go over there and listen to it. Really powerful and moving. And the title of it makes it even more so, of course. So really, really a beautiful one. And I like Bill Monroe's music, okay, but I'm not like somebody that listens to him all the time. But I'd just forgotten about that beautiful, beautiful song. It's just amazing. So over the weekend, I had my book signing at Alexander's store. It was so nice to meet everyone that come. Thank you so much for coming. I loved seeing your face, your beautiful smiles, hearing your story, hearing a little bit about your life. I loved all that. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out. You made it a huge success. I think the folks at Alexander's was pleased, and I know me and Matt were really, really pleased. We just really enjoyed it, and it went by in a flash. It was just so enjoyable to talk to all of you. It was really, really nice, and I really loved it, and I'm so thankful to all of you that come. So thankful to all of you who brought me gifts and granny gifts, and Corey and Austin and Katie. That was so, so nice of you. You didn't have to do that, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing that. And we appreciate all of it. And we've really enjoyed it. And Granny was very, very excited, as were the girls and Austin. And so we really enjoyed it. And Matt, I think it was Kelly brought Matt the Little Debbie's. He's really been enjoying the Little Debbie's. So thank you so much for coming. And then I wanted to share the next place I'll be is in in Knoxville at the historic Ramsey House, and that's in October 19th from 11 to 2. So if you could come to that, I'd love to meet you there. And if we end up at any other places, I'll be sure to let you know about that too. But we really love to. It's really rewarding to see you and to hear a bit about your life and just to see your face and put a face with the name. That's really rewarding. A lot of people have said, it's funny when they meet us like in a situation like that. It's like they already know us because they've watched our videos, and then they feel like we should know them. So it is wonderful for us to get to talk to you and learn a bit about you and just see your beautiful faces. So that was a really fun day for me and Matt both. And I think maybe we're ready for continuing our wisdom from the comments. Y'all continue to leave just the wonderful, heartwarming wisdom, wise, insightful, and humorous, all of it together. And I've really so enjoyed this. So I hope you'll continue to do that. Hope you'll continue to do that. This one was from Cindy. This is from Cindy. Someday I'm going to catch her live. I didn't need to read that part. Cindy says, great grandma always told me when I was young and not in a good mood about something, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. I'm sure you've all heard that one. I've heard that. So you're familiar with it. But it is so true. If you could just look on the bright side, so often that does help us. And it's a good reminder. Thank you, Cindy. This was from Margaret. Margaret said, my grandma said, you never pay for your raising until you raise a child of your own. That is true. Yesterday at church, some ladies and I were talking about that, but also just about how you don't really understand what your parents did until you become a parent, kind of thing. So that's a good one. And then under that, Kathy said, her mom used to say, your first child grows up in spite of you. So I thought that was interesting. A lot of times you'll hear parents say that they learn like with the first one. And then, there's even the funny, humorous stuff about how with the first child, everything's perfect. And then by the time they have maybe the third one, it's like, they'll be okay. Anyway, I thought that was neat. So this one is from Skip. Skip says, when others disappoint you, always remember God is keeping the real score. So that's a good one, Skip. And then under that, Precious Devere 288 said, Oscar Wilde said, there's nothing worse than being talked about. There's nothing worse than being talked about than not being talked about. Yeah, so that's a good way to look at it sometimes. Patty said, my mother always said, at least it's clean, meaning even when my uncle gave us car paint that we used for the dining room, at least it's clean. That's another really positive way to look at stuff. May not be the best, but you look for the positive. At least it's clean. I've certainly said that. I'm somebody that genuinely likes old stuff, from cars to whatever. So that part's, maybe I'm being unfair because I really do like old stuff. But I have consoled myself with that before. Like, well, it's not the best, but at least it's clean and neat and nice, and I've took care of it. So thank you, Patty. I like that. This is from Audrey. Audrey said, I'm way up here in the Adirondack region of New York State, and your connection, I was talking about our connection, sorry. That was last week. We had a little internet disruption on my live. But so Audrey says, my words of wisdom are, my grandma used to say, what's done in the dark will always come into the light, meaning if you're doing bad things on the sly, people will find out eventually, and ain't that the truth? And the other one is slightly colorful. And my father-in-law's saying, you can't make cookies out of cat doo-doo. He always said that, though he used slightly different language. It's always helped me to let go of things that need letting go of. That reminds me of something Miss Cindy would say. It is a colorful way of saying it, but still truth. This is from Mary. Mary said, I found this in a book I was reading. Regrets can't change the past, and worry can't alter the future. This really spoke to my heart, as I've been guilty of both. And I have been too, Mary. So thank you for sharing that. Regrets can't change the past, and worry can't alter the future. Really, really wise. This one is from Pelly Jelly Mom. Love that name, Pelly Jelly Mom. I was a coach and Sunday school teacher, and I always told the kids, you never have to apologize for doing the right thing. I still have the kids I coach tell me they remembered that when making decisions about their actions. God bless. That's a good one. You never have to apologize for doing the right thing. That's a really, really good one. This one is from Tony. Tony says, hey, Tipper, I have words of wisdom that I know you've heard before. PG version. Opinions are like rear ends. Everybody's got one. I've heard that one, but I've also heard like opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody's got one. Always good to remember that. Linda said, here's my words of wisdom for today. I should know that when I wash the windows on the outside, it will surely rain within a day. I don't need to do a rain dance. Sure wish I could come to your book signing. I wish you could have too, Linda. That reminds me of my friend Papaw on here. He says that a lot of times if he wants it to rain, he just needs to take his sprinklers and put them all out and turn them on, and then it'll rain. You've probably heard people say the same thing about if I want it to rain, I just need to wash my car and then it'll rain. This one is one of those strange ones. It's user TF4ZH5DY6T. I'm not sure why I can't see the name, but that's what YouTube shows me. So it says, my mother told me a foolish promise is better broken than kept. That's why I try to think before I make promises that I may not be able to keep. We should all really think about things before we promise, before we jump in with both feet. This one is from KB6078. Tipper, thank you for sharing everyone's words of wisdom, both the wise and the funny ones. We can all learn from them. Whenever we would get our feelings hurt and overreact or be dramatic, my grandmother would tell us, you need to quit trailing your grapevines and just get over it. I can hear her voice saying those exact words even now. I really like that one. You need to quit trailing your grapevines and just get over it. I need to try to remember that one. That is good. That's a good one. Thank you for sharing it. And I love thinking about her grandmother, or, I don't know if it's, I love thinking about the grandmother, just say that, for who taught her that, who said that to her? Did she just come up with it? Did somebody else say it to her? That's that's fascinating to think about too. Like, is that saying been passed down in their family? I'm sure it has been after the grandmother, so I'm sure it's continued to be said now. But I really love it and love thinking about where it started and how it was, maybe unique to that family, or maybe not. Maybe some of you've heard that too. I love it. So this is another one. Just shows me the user CM3SD91H4W. The wisdom regarding worrying reminded me of what my daddy would say. Worry is I've got a buddy here. Here comes Binks. See if y'all can see him. Yeah. The wisdom regarding worrying reminded me of what my daddy would say. Worry is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but you'll never get anywhere. You may have heard that one before. I have. That's a good one, too. Binks is going to add his 2 cents. No, he's gone. This one is from Donna. Donna said, Miss Tipper, love your live videos. My dad wrote in my autograph book, as you slide down the banister of life, remember me as a splinter in your career. Have a great week. That's a great one, Donna. And that's the kind of sense of humor that Matt has. So I love that. Love that. This one was from Pat Motley 7457. We were talking about autograph books, if you remember them. We used to have them at Martins Creek. We'd get them at the end of the year and let everybody sign them. Love the autograph books of 5th, 6th, 7th grade years, and that's probably about the time that I had them too. We lived in a neighborhood where we saw our friends all summer long, but oh, how I miss the friends that lived in neighborhoods that were a bit too far away to walk or ride our bikes. I love the old saying that describes a sleepless night before a trip as being journey proud. I can just hear the grandmother of a college roommate saying to her, now go on to bed And don't be journey proud. Daybreak will be here in the blink of an eye. I've never heard journey proud. You'll have to tell me if you have, but I really love it. I say for so many different reasons, and it is so true. Even me and Granny didn't have to go that far. We just had to go over to Blairsville. But even last night, I was like, I know I've got to get up early, way earlier than usual. I got to have Granny over there early, all that. And I was thinking about it and thinking about it, and just wanting to make sure. I even made Matt set his phone, so I set my alarm. Then I asked Matt if he'd set an alarm just to make sure. So I was journey proud. I really love that, especially before the first day of school, going on a trip, your vacation, all those kind of things. You do get journey proud. I really love that. So thank you, Pat, for sharing it. This one was from Diane. Diane said, over the years, I've learned blessings don't always come packaged the way we expect them to. I have found that to be true in my life for sure. And I bet you have too. I bet you can remember certain instances where maybe you was even disappointed about something and then it turned out to be a real blessing. And then you could look back and see, that was for the best. There's another deer alarm. I can see who set it off though. It's Paul. He's in the yard down there. This one was from Regina. Good evening from a hot and humid West Tennessee. I always told my husband, this one is really funny, so y'all listen to this. I'm going to start over. This is from Regina. Good evening from a hot and humid West Tennessee. I always told my husband, if God would please strike me speechless, I'd be such a better person. His reply, it's okay, honey. You just write it down. Kiss and hug those baby boys often because they are growing. That is so funny. It, everybody struggles with something different. Like I know y'all wouldn't believe it. I've told you that, but I was a very backward person. And even today, I have a hard time speaking up and saying stuff. I'm certainly better than I used to be, but I was very backward growing up, and I didn't really talk unless, one of my best friends all through school, her stepdad told me. It was after I was grown, and Corey and Katie was with me. I mean, I had them, in other words, and I'd went to visit my friend who moved off, but she'd come back home, and then they talked so much. So he was telling me, he said, gosh, I didn't even know your mama could talk till she was a senior in high school, and you two won't never hush. So it's funny that the difference in people, in other words. So I really thought that one was funny. When Corey and Katie was real little, probably in about, I don't know, maybe first grade or something like that, second grade, they had a dear, sweet little friend, and her mother and I, we would see each other in the mornings when he was dropping them off and at PTA meetings, whatever. We'd kind of become friends. And that little girl was like me. She was real quiet and backwards. But Corey and Katie talked all the time, and they come home telling me stuff from school. I'm like, I don't want to know what happened in the bathroom. I don't, please. They told me everything. So one day me and her was talking about it, and she said, well, she wished her little girl was more like that, because she would ask her why, and she'd just say, it was good, it was fine. She wouldn't tell her any details. And we both said that when she's wishing her little girl would talk, she would think about me wanting Corey and Katie to sometimes be quiet. And then the vice versa, when Corey and Katie was telling me stuff I didn't want to know, I could remember her wishing her little girl, and we would help each other. I just thought that was so sweet that she said that. Anyway, shows the difference in people. So Regina, I really love that. Thank you. So this is from Pam Johns. 1520. When my mother would leave for a drive for some time alone, she always told me, don't look for me till you see me coming. I like that too. Sometimes you do just need to slip off, as we would say, slip off for some private time. I hear somebody coming out. Katie? It's me. Are you looking for the deer alarm?
Yeah.
It's right there.
Can I have what's in your pocket?
Yes. I can have what's in my pocket.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Hello and bye from Katie. That's why Paul was out. He was walking up here. I had another deer alarm he's going to take to Granny's garden. And then I had her rings in my pocket because of the MRI. She took them off and handed them to me, and I forgot to give them back to her. Okay, so Rossi, maybe NROSSI 1215 said, 2 for my mother's mother during the Depression. The only answer to trouble to survive it. The longer you dwell on your misfortune, the greater is their power to harm you. Love you all, Nini. Oh my goodness, I love both of those. So wise. So oftentimes when you're just in the thick of trouble and trials and tribulations and just seems like you can't do nothing, you just have to persevere. You just have to. I just love that. The only answer to trouble is to survive it. Sometimes you just got to survive. And it'd be better if there was a solution. If you could say, well, you do X, Y, and Z and it'll all go away. And that maybe sometimes that there is a fix, but so often in life, there's not a fix. And I think it's a comfort for people to know sometimes there's no fix and you just have to survive. You just have to get through it. So I love that. And then I really love the second part. The longer you dwell on your misfortune, the greater is their power to harm you. So true. It's kind of like, the longer you chew on, some people say the longer you chew on like an old piece of grizzle or something, the bigger it gets because you can't never chew it up and you can't swallow it. It's the same thing with your troubles. If you just dwell and focus on them, and I'm guilty of that, of both of these. I'm guilty of them, of trying to fix a problem there's no solution for instead of just surviving it, and then also um, of not being able to just not focus on my misfortune, I just become hyper focused on it. And when I do, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's just so much better if you can force yourself somehow not to dwell on it. It's just so much better. John, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, John. Yes. Thank you. We appreciate you, and stay in touch. Okay. This was from David Hensley, who asked for the Q&A from Granny. Don't trip over what's behind you. That's just so simple, but so true. And that kind of goes along with the last part of that other one is don't trip, the things that, that there's nothing you can do about. You just got to move forward. You just got to survive, and you can't worry about those things. Our human brains, though, they like to worry about stuff in the past that didn't go right, or that was, wasn't fair, or we got wronged, or maybe even that we hurt somebody else and we can't get over that. So that's a good one too, David. Thank you so much. And I think this is the last one. This is from Debbie. Debbie said, my dad would say, don't worry about what's coming. Take care of what's already here. I guess that was his way to say live in the present. And that's a really good one. That's a great one to end on after those we just had. See, I don't know how that works out like that, but it seems like every week the wisdom kind of coalesce around one thought. So that's really great. Thank you, Debbie. So true. We can't worry about that. Oh, Teresa, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you all that said happy birthday to me. I really appreciate that. I think I seen somebody else had a birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Tomorrow is Miss Cindy's birthday. Makes me kind of tear up, be sad. We always shared that ours was right together. So I'll be thinking about her, of course, tomorrow, but even today, because she always made a big deal out of my birthday, which was really nice. And thank you all for that. Thank you for spending time with me this morning. Remember, if you've got questions for Granny, leave them, come back later after this is finished and put them in the real comments below. Cause I think the chat, I'm not sure I'll be able to get back to that, or just go to some other video that I've got, doesn't matter which one, and just say, hey, this is a question for Granny, and leave it on there. And I will definitely ask her those if y'all want to hear from her. So, okay, Jennifer's asking, we don't know about the test yet. I will answer that. We don't know yet about the test. We had another one this morning, but I will let y'all know what those tests show. And today is my birthday, yes. And thank you all. Thank you all so much for spending time with me. I really appreciate you. And I love you all. Oh, thank you, Misha. Thank you so much. Thank you all. I love y'all all. And I'll see you next week, but I'll see you before then in a video. Bye-bye.